So glad that Jesus came to give his life.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A reality radio show where nothing is left unsaid and no one who says it is insignificant. I want to thank you for being a part of the joy that we have in our house. I want you to find us out there, listeners and viewers. Find us on Facebook /Joy in My House. I want you to find us on Twitter. We want you to engage with us. Send us your comments or questions on twitter.com /Joy in My House. And to watch any of our archive messages, you can go to the network's website at www.latalklive.com. Click on shows, click on Joy in My House, and watch all of our previous episodes. Now, if you're just listening to us, you can stream us live on any mobile device. On Ustream.tv, you just download the app, click in LA Talk Live Radio, and you can stream us live on any mobile device. I want to thank you for being a part of the joy that we have in our house here on Joy in My House, here on latalklive.com. Because without you guys listening out there, without you guys engaging with us, we wouldn't have any feedback. We wouldn't know if we're touching you out there, if we're getting to you. So I want to thank you for allowing us to be spreading the message, to be spreading the gospel here of Jesus Christ and the work that God continues to do in our lives. Because we have a great show for you today. But before I get to today's show, I want to remind you, last week we had Reverend Diane Gardner, author of Overcoming the Enemy Storms, here on LA Talk Live on Joy in My House. She has her book, Overcoming the Enemy Storms, Finding Healing Through God's Grace, had a great message for you out there. So if you missed it, I want you to find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter. I want you to engage with us on latalklive.com, watch our previous episodes, and engage with us. Let us know your thoughts, your comments, or any questions you have for our guests. Now, today's in-studio teaser is, you're not going to want to miss today's show, ladies and gentlemen. We have the guest by the name of Keith Sarge Gibbs. He is a founder. He is the founder of an organization called Sarge's Community Base Incorporated. He has a program called Commit to Achieve. It is a life skill training program for out-of-control youth. So if you're out there struggling maybe with your teenager or even maybe an adolescent, you're not going to want to miss today's message. He's going to have some applicable tools that you can apply at home to maybe help you give some structure and some control to the life that you're living at home. I do want to thank also Leanne Pendergrass. She had a great 10th anniversary, My Gathering Place International, at the Beverly Hills Hotel this past Saturday, and it was a great event. Pat Boone was there, and Shirley Boone was giving the message. It was very inspirational to hear these ministers at their more mature age giving the message and still being in Hollywood. I know a lot of out there have aspirations of being actors, actresses, musicians, speakers, and it is such a struggle to have the balance of Jesus Christ in your life as well as going out there and promoting yourself. So I want you to catch us here on the 31st. Leanne Pendergrass will be here giving a message on that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in My House. I want you to stay tuned. We're going to be right back with Sarge, Keith Gibbs, founder and Committed to Achieve life skills training program, when we come back. This is Joy in My House. I want you to stay tuned.
'Cause my stocks have taken a dive. No doubt the landlord's waiting, can pay my rent again this month. There has been war debating, missile attacks are awaiting. There's been so many changes. Whoa, enough rearranging, been building on the sand, I'll build on the rock next time. Oh, oh, oh. Can't hang out with my buddies, 'cause I'm standing in the unemployment line. I'm stressed so much of the time, so many foreclosure signs. I'm trying to find love online. Is this the day they'll tow my car away?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Joy in My House, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. I'm joined here by my in-studio guest, Keith Sarge Gibbs. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And if you don't know, we have a new intern here who's working the boards, who's my engineer. Christian, welcome to the show.
It's always very nice to be with you on the show, Joel.
Well, I want to thank you guys out there for being a part of the joy that we have in our house. I hope that you engage with us. Find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter, and you can watch all of our live streaming shows on Ustream.tv. Just click LA Talk Live Radio, and you can stream us live on any mobile device. We're going to get to our guest because I met Sarge at the 3-in-1 event in West Angeles Church, which is Dr. Ron Simmons, who was on the show promoting the event with Devon Franklin and Lou Gossett Jr. as guest speakers.
Right. It was a great event. It was touching. It was heart throbbing. It was an event that inspired. It was something that took me all the way back to growing up in New York City.
Wow.
So
yeah, because
it was a
Devon
moment.
Franklin and Lou Gossett Jr. really gave a great message, and Lou Gossett really preaches and talks about recovery, which I was very impressed with.
Yeah, it was touching, and to see him again, even though I see him on a regular basis, but to see him all the way from the first time we met in the early 80s, it was just a feeling that you just don't get. You know, you meet some people that you've known for a while and you haven't seen them for a while, and you meet them and it's just, hey, how you doing? It's good to see you again, and you're walking about your business. But to find someone who you have a kindred spirit with, to see them again and you haven't seen them for a while, it just brings back a lot of emotions.
Wow.
So it was good to see him.
That's really good, because if you don't know, Sarge, you were one of the drill instructors who taught and worked with Lou Gossett for his movie Officer and a Gentleman,
where he won an Academy Award.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
it was funny because when I went to his house a couple of months ago in Malibu, and I was walking around, and I just happened to see the Oscar.
Did you tell him that half of that?
I told him half of it was mine.
That's
And
it.
I picked it up, and that's the first time I've ever held one. And I picked him up, and I stood there, and I said, "You need to take this picture because you might not see it again." So he told me, "You don't put my Oscar back down, boy, I'm going to hurt you." So it was great.
Well,
It
great
was
opportunity. But I want to get to your story, because you are a person who is really giving back to the community. And I want our listeners and viewers out there to engage with us. I want you to find us on Twitter. Send us a tweet with any questions or comments with our guest. We're going to have Christian engage with us as well with any questions or comments that you might be thinking. Because I get the opportunity to read your bio, read your testimony, read your program. So I already kind of know about the program.
Right.
But those out there who are listening and viewing, you might have questions that I don't have because I already know about the program. So Christian is going to interject and see what he has to share with us as well.
Okay, it's great.
So, Sarge, where did you grow up?
I grew up in the South Bronx in New York City, and people think that life was hard now. Growing back in the 50s and 60s, especially in the South Bronx, where it was gang infested, drug infested, pimps and prostitution. It was really no role models to look up to.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in a single parent home, my mother and 3 sisters, it was a struggle. And her not having a good job, she had a job, but not a good job where she was able to make ends meet. Times were tough. Times were hard. And who we had to look up to were basically drug dealers, pimps.
Well, that's interesting, because that is what a lot of inner city youth look up to. The drug dealers that are driving the Mercedes and the
Right,
fancy
the big
car,
exactly.
wearing the chains, but they're not really contributing to the community. They're actually taking from
They're
the
taken
community.
from the community. And you look at these individuals, and like I did, you want to be like them. You know, you want to be the biggest drug dealer in New York City. You want to have all of the things that you think that they have, not knowing their background, their history, their trials and tribulations, not knowing that they were incarcerated, or they spent 10, 15 years in jail, that they got gang raped in jail, or they got what AIDS, or whatever the case. You don't know their history. You just see the outside shell and automatically want to be like them.
Right.
So
Well, at a young age, 11 or 12, you actually found your cousin or saw your cousin overdose, and he still had the needle stuck in his arm.
Had a needle
from
stuck
heroin.
in his arm in the bathroom, laying up against the bathtub, and these are things that you see on television, and so you think it's not real. But I lived it. I walked through it. I walked a lot of shadows of individuals who've done the things that a lot of these kids think they want to do.
Right.
And living from someone else's footsteps gave me the vision that that's not where I wanted to be. But it was frightening on the same end, because like these kids now, there's nothing else that you could be. Education is not what education used to be.
Right.
A lot of the teachers are not teaching what they should teach. And I'm not bagging on teachers, but there's a lot of good teachers out there. But then again, there's a lot of teachers that's just there for a paycheck.
Right.
And I see it when these kids come to my program and they're struggling with their homework because they don't understand it. And my question is, have you asked your teacher for help? Yes, I did ask my teacher, but they don't want to help me, or they can't help me because there's too many kids in the classroom. So we're failing these kids. And so they have no other out but, well, if I can't get the education I need in school, Bobo, the drug dealer, he's got a lot of money.
Right.
Why can't I be like Bobo? I don't have to go to school. He dropped out of school in 8th grade, so why can't I drop out of school and be like Bobo?
Well, that's a great name, Bobo. But I do want Christian to interject talking about education, because you're going to school right now. And how do you feel the teachers are doing? Because my father's a professor, and you know, he's always trying to get back. But in his latter years, I do feel that he says, man, it's difficult when he has an auditorium full of 60, 70 students. He can't engage individually with each one.
It's
How
hard.
do you feel?
Yeah, I'll give one anecdote. My dad was a kindergarten teacher in the Los Angeles area in the late 80s, early 90s. And he was an ESL teacher. He taught a
Wow.
classroom of Spanish speakers. And his protocol mandated him to teach entirely in English. And it was a very frustrating experience for him, because these are 6 and 7-year-olds who know nothing about the English language.
Right.
And they're being forced to learn grammar and mathematics and high-level concepts in a language they've never been exposed to before. So I feel like there is a problem of teachers and motivation. I think the bigger problem comes with the things they are mandated to teach. In their methods, they're no longer able to communicate on a one-on-one basis. It's a one-size-fit-all education system that
Yeah,
right
that
now
doesn't work.
it's failing the poor, especially in the United States. It's failing the urban poor mostly. And with this emphasis on test scores and one-size-fit-all education.
Well, the test scores, I think, become a political thing where they have to show good test scores to get finances, so on and
Exactly.
so forth. So it becomes a business as opposed to an educational system. And now you're educating, now you're giving back, because you founded a program. I guess we'll get to that, because at a young age, you found refuge at a Baptist church, and you were actually reading to the youth.
You know,
God
it's-
was preparing
it's-
you at a very young age.
It's
Tell me about
funny
that.
how that happened. Just recently, I looked back at my life when I gave a presentation at a church, and when it was over and everyone stood up and gave me a standing ovation, everyone wanted to come and talk to me, and the pastor came up and he says, I got to come out and see your ministry. And I looked at him and I was confused and dazed. My ministry, I don't have a church. And he says, the program that you have with the youth, that is a ministry because
Right.
of what you're doing and what you're giving back too. And I thought about it, and I looked back when I was 8, 9, 10 years old at New Zion Baptist Church on 165th Street and Washington Avenue, when I was sitting in the pew with these kids, and I would read to them not only the Bible, but I would read to them kindergarten books and just good books, you know, to get from school. I can't remember Hansel and Gretel and the Three Musketeers and things of that
Wow.
nature. And just sitting there reading to them because they couldn't read, and have them try to pronunciate words. It was funny because they mispronunciate words, and you know,
Right,
we had a
right.
good time at it. And I sit back now and I look at all of that then, and I say to myself, my gosh, God has been preparing me
Yeah.
for what I'm doing now all the way back when I was a child. And back then I had no idea that I would be doing what I'm doing now. And it just feels so good. It's like you can't put a price tag on a child. You got this kid that want to be a drug dealer, dropped out of school. You take him, you put him back in school, you turn his life around. You send his parents to a 16-week parenting class to teach the parent how to be a parent and not to be a friend to her child. And this kid comes back and he graduates high school, and now he's on to college. Oh my gosh, there's a feeling that you just can't believe.
Right.
It's overwhelming. It's invigorating. And you can't put a price tag on that emotion.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because in your program, and we'll get in more detail to the program, you teach the youth in the beginning to give you their lifeline path. What is a lifeline path? Tell me what that entails, because I thought this was very interesting.
Yeah, I asked the kids, I said, so tell me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And these are kids that haven't been in the program yet. The parents bring them to me. They're in tears. They don't know what to do with this kid. The kid has dropped out of school, selling drugs, doing drugs, wanting to join gangs, very disrespectful, disobedient, doesn't clean the house, doesn't want to take a bath. And the parent bring these kids to me. And I asked this kid, I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? And the kid would look at me, I want to be a dope dealer, or I want to be a drug dealer, or I want to be a gang member. And I asked him, exactly what is that? Show me the path to gang life. Draw me a map, and then I'm going to draw you a map of success. And the kid said, what do you mean draw me a map? I said, okay, let me go first. I'm going to draw you a map of success. Here you are. You're back in school. That's point A. You graduate middle school. You're in middle school now. You're in high school. Now you're going to college. Now you got a college degree. You graduate college. Now you have a job. Now you're making good money. Now you get a loan and you buy a house. Now you find a nice lady and you get married and you have kids. Now you have a car. That's a roadmap to success. See how easy that roadmap is? Now, just like my roadmap, draw me a roadmap to gang life and how you're going to succeed. And they're dumbfounded.
Yeah.
They can't draw me a map because they don't know how to do it. It's just trial and error day by day. Well, trial and error day by day doesn't work. That's a recipe for failure. I just drew you a map to success. Now you have two choices. You want to be successful or you want to fail, but the choice is yours.
Well, that's a great way of really making it tangible for them, having it be visual, where they can see the steps that need to be taken.
Yes.
Because a lot of times people do have dreams. I want to do this, I want to do that, but they don't have a blueprint to how to get there or any steps. And in order to be successful, you need to have steps. First, I needed, like you said, graduate from middle school before I can get to high school. High school is going to be a struggle, but graduate from there to get to college. Then to come out with a degree to get a decent job. And then to have, like you said, make enough money where a bank will actually give you a loan. Especially with the housing market right now, things are difficult. You need those things to be successful to have the opportunity.
I'm going to tell you what I find so discouraging right now. Don't know how many school districts are doing this. But I understand you got a 16, 17 and a half year old kid dropped out of high school. You put him in continuation school. I get that. But to put a middle school student in middle school continuation, I don't get that.
Wow, I didn't even know that
there's school districts. I won't mention them, but they got middle school kids that don't want to go to class, so they got a middle school continuation school. And these are kids that are 9, 10, 11 years old that are in the classroom, and I've been to those classes, and they're not doing anything. They're not getting a proper education. The teachers allow them to just run around and play music all day long, and they're not getting anything. Really? We're just destroying the future. Mm-hmm. Something has to be done about that.
Well, education, and we'll let Christian interject, but education is struggling so much. It's funny. My father, being a professor, always votes for education. But it seems when money is tough or money is tight, the first thing they go after is the finance for education, and that is our future. In other countries, teachers and professors are revered because they're giving back so much and they're developing the future. But in this country, they have it backwards, where teachers are, oh, you're just a teacher, you don't make a lot of money, you're really kind of at the bottom of the barrel, when they're really the ones educating our future.
Exactly.
To make it even worse, in this state, the biggest funder of our education is the lottery. And it's such a backwards notion that something that can be considered a parasite of our society is funding what should be the light, the future. And to think that the first thing that's cut is education is literally pushing the problem towards the future, putting the onus on the kids who you are not educating in the
Right.
process.
Yeah.
It's a really bad vicious cycle. It really
is.
is. But for you, Sarge, you buried yourself in church, in martial arts, which gave you the structure, the spiritual growth, which turned into self-confidence and faith. Tell me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, because I was on the same road that these kids are on right now. I didn't want to go to school. I dropped out of school for a minute. I thought the streets was what I wanted to do. And as again, when I saw that needle on my cousin's arm and just all kinds of colors, I was terrified. I was frightened to death, and I didn't want to go down that road. That was like a defining moment in my life. And immediately I went back to school, and
Wow.
I can remember that was a Tuesday. I went back to school that Wednesday. And I took extra credit and I did extra work in order to graduate. And I was so motivated that instead of graduating in June, I graduated in January of
That's
1977.
That's amazing.
And right after that, went straight into the Marine Corps because I wanted to save my life. And I'm not saying the military is an avenue to save your life, because there's different ways that you can do this.
Right.
But that was my way growing up in the South Bronx in New York City. That was my refuge, the military.
Well, let's talk about that, because you went straight out of high school, you enrolled in the United States Marine Corps, and you say that boot camp transformed your life. Tell us that experience.
Going to boot camp.
That's a reality check, I know.
Yeah, and people think, when you think Marine Corps boot camp, first thing coming to your mind is, wow, that's the toughest branch of service. And it's true. But it turned my life around, because I went into boot camp with my New York mentality, thinking that I was that in a bag of chips and you can't break me and I'm hardcore and I've been through the streets of New York City and I got something for you drill instructors. Well, you had something for me. It was a turnaround point in my life, and it really gave me the foundation that I needed in order to succeed, because in boot camp you learn that there is no failure. Failure is not an option. You will succeed by any means necessary. Anything that you do, if you put your mind to it, you can achieve it. And I learned about teamwork, something that I really didn't know growing up. Teamwork is very important and vital, and that's what I teach the cadets in our program. Your team, your nucleus is your family. That's your structure. That's your foundation. That's your teamwork. Without that family team, you're going to fail.
Well, and I agree. I teach martial arts still. I've been trying to pull away from it, but it keeps sucking me back in. I have about 16 private clients. They're just private students. And having the opportunity to work in families, I teach the mother, the father, the daughter, the young child, and sometimes even the grandparents.
Yes.
So having that opportunity, I believe, and I say it on the show, that God put us on this earth for relationships. So for me, it's an opportunity to build that family nucleus, like you said.
Exactly.
And sometimes I do training sessions together, and I say we're gonna have a family day, and I train them all at the same time, and they have this experience of being there for one another, motivating positive one another, inspiring each other.
And that's what
And
they
I
need.
think that's so important, because a lot of children that maybe don't play organized sports, because I do believe in organized sports, that don't have that family nucleus, really need that.
They do need it. And it's failing. One of the reasons why it's failing is because, and I hate to say it, but you men are not stepping up to the plate. You men are failing, and you want to say, who's failing our families, who's failing society? It's the men out there, because we are leaving these single parent mothers to fend for themselves, to raise boys and try to teach them how to be men. And it's not their role, their job, or their responsibility. It's ours. And until us men step back into the family structure and step up to the plate and hit that home run, we're going to continue to fail our sons and daughters, because the daughters need fathers as well. And so we have to build back up that relationship.
I have to agree. Today I have my daughter. She's here in the studio with me. She's 9 years old, Zaylee. She's actually the reason why I changed my life. She was born, I was out of marriage, and I wasn't with her mom. I was with somebody else. My life was so chaotic, and I didn't know what to do. I was just going out of control. I was drinking and using, out of control. And seeing her grow up, I had the opportunity to be a stay-at-home dad for a little while. And I said, you know what? I don't want my youngest daughter to see me drunk, high, and not making anything of myself when I have all these gifts that God has given me. Gave my life to Christ, and it started a path that started changing. But I needed to be involved. Till this day, I'm involved. I haven't dated in over close to a year now. She's my date. We go out to dinner together, movies.
That's
and
great.
When she goes with her mom, she lives in San Diego now. When she goes with her mom, it's like, what do I do? I'm missing my other half. But it's so true that these young girls need a father figure.
They do.
And they need a positive father figure that's encouraging, that's motivating, that shows them unconditional love. Because my 16-year-old daughter, she doesn't know yet. She hasn't told her, but she's pregnant. And I think it's also a lack of me being a part of her life more and more. I have to take some responsibility. She made her choices, but at the same time, I need to be there for her. If I'm not there for her, who's going to be there for her young boyfriend? No. Her stepdad? Well, he'll be there to a certain degree, but the men out there, us as fathers, we really need to be there to show that unconditional love.
We do, and I tell fathers when we have a Father's Day once a year where I get to talk to those dads out there who's not really dads. It's not about the mother. It's not about the kid's mother. That has nothing to do with the dynamics. It's about the child. And if you can get over the relationship that you have with that kid's mother and forget about what happened and broke up the relationship and concentrate and focus on that child, you can make a difference in that child's life. And that's all I'm asking. That's all I'm praying for. Get back into that child's life. Forget about the mother. Make a difference with that child. Bring that unity with you and that child, whether it's a male or female, back together. Create that bond and make a difference in our community.
Well, thank you for saying that. I know it was a little tangent of it, but I feel that so much more and more having children, and I spend a lot of time with them, and it's quality time. I usually don't even like to accept phone calls, especially being very busy.
Right.
I don't accept phone calls when I'm with dinner at with my children. I train my kids. My daughter does MMA. She's 9 years old. My children have their black belts. So I really had an opportunity. I did have a blessing and an opportunity to be a part of their lives, but I had to first come to the grips that I needed to make the effort. It wasn't going to come to me. They weren't going to come to me and tell me. I had to go to them. But you, Sarge, you give these tools. You teach these tools. You, I guess I'm gonna go back to your story. Straight out of high school, you're enrolled. You've been all over the world, and you had an opportunity to be first stationed in Okinawa, Japan.
Yes.
And speaking of children, you started teaching children there, but they gave you back something more than you were giving them. Tell us about that.
It was a blessing sitting with these. It started when I was at the this park in Okinawa, Japan, and there was a bunch of Japanese kids just playing, and the ball came to me. I have no idea what game they were playing. The ball came to me, and I grabbed the ball and I tried to emulate what they were doing, and they all laughed at me because I didn't do it successfully, and so they kept throwing the ball to me. So obviously they wanted me to engage, so I did. And when the game was over, everybody crowded around me, and they wanted to touch my skin and touch my hair because I was different than they were. Mm-hmm. And so from that point on, I started going back every weekend, and they were there. And the same thing happened. We played. They wanted to touch my skin, touch my hair. And we started talking. Even though they were speaking Japanese, I was speaking English. But we started talking. And I think about the fourth or fifth week, they started saying my name correctly in English. And it was amazing to me. And then we started just teaching each other. And they was telling me how to pronounce my name in Japanese. And I was talking to them and they was talking to me in English, and they taught me doi tashimashita and all that good stuff. And so I started learning Japanese. And while I was there, I believed I spoke very fluently. And to this point, I kind of lost it because I haven't been using it. But in that dynamic, the kids taught me that you can learn something from anyone. And I never forgot the lessons that they taught me in reference to don't be afraid to step out of your box. Mm-hmm. Don't be afraid to engage people who are different than you. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't look at someone and think because they're different, they're going to treat you different, because it's not always the case. And so keeping that in mind, Sarge Community-Based Life Skills Training, Commit to Achieve, I am learning, and I have learned so much from these kids. It's unbelievable. And so we take everything that we learn and we bring it back and we incorporate it into our program, and it makes the program that much better for the next child that comes into the program, that turns their life around on a faster pace.
Absolutely. You may testify to this as well, Joel, but I've found that nothing brings people of all cultures together like soccer. It's a universal language.
Yes, I am definitely a soccer fan.
I have I once worked with Taiwanese children, immigrants, about half of them spoke broken English, half of them no English at all. But as soon as a soccer ball was brought out, it didn't matter. We could communicate via hand signals, but as soon as that connection was made, people were helping each other up, people were giving each other water. That was the only thing that needed to be done for us to realize that we're all children of the same people, might as well be together and cooperate.
Yeah.
And I say the same thing. Teaching martial arts, I always say I'm a student first. I served my master, Jesus Christ, but I also had a earthly mentor, my master. I served him as well, and I was always having to learn from him. But then my students, I had to learn from them as well.
Yes.
I have to be a student first. And like I say, God put us on this earth for relationships, and if we're not learning from each other, if we're not inspiring and motivating one another, then there's a disconnect.
Yes.
There really is a disconnect with our surroundings, with our environment. So I believe God put us on this earth to be together. I want you to tell us the mission statement for Commit to Achieve. I think this is very important for those of you who are out there listening and viewing. Sarge's program was developed to teach these life skills. Sarge's community-based. It is a nonprofit. It's a life skill training program. And your mission statement, Sarge?
A nonprofit organization, we develop and encourage young men and women to become leaders. We believe that being a leader is important, but we also teach the kids it's okay to follow if you're following in the right direction. And I believe in order to be a strong leader, you have to be a good follower. And so these young men and women become leaders, and we're committed to reducing violence by seeing them practice and then personally own basic life skills, leadership principles, respect, structure, as well as responsibility. By providing core values of family commitment and responsibility, we will educate and empower our youth through teaching service, teamwork, and discipline in a structured environment.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing that there's programs out there that are doing this. That is amazing that you're doing this, Sarge, because I think I needed that. I found that program I started in AA to sober up from alcohol, but I ended up finding a Celebrate Recovery program at a Saddleback Church, which is Rick Warren's church. John Baker designed a program, which is a 12-step Christian program that gave me that structure, that gave me that responsibility and accountability to my other people in the meeting. Now I lead a program, and I see how this really works.
Yes.
This is the foundation to success, like you said.
It is.
This is the pathway to success.
Got to have that structure. And just a side note for parents who are wondering how can I get control of my kid. One of the things that parents need to do is parents really need to sit down and talk to their kids, not talk at them, not talk to them, but talk with them.
Talk with them.
Open up a dialogue. One kid explained to me, came to my program, he says, I don't like this B. And he was 9.5 years old, and he's straight out, I don't like this B. I'm like, why do you call your mother that? Because she's a liar.
Amazing.
I said, why is your mother a liar? Because last week she told me when she got back home, we was going to go out to pizza. And she came home, and we didn't do anything. We didn't go out to pizza, and she lied to me. And so I don't like her. So I went and asked her mother. I inquired about it, and she told me, she said, what really happened? She thought she was going to get a paycheck. She didn't get a paycheck, so she couldn't go out. I said, that should have been explained to him. Mm-hmm. Son, I'm not lying. Mommy didn't get paid. I wanted to take you out to pizza, but when I get paid in the week or next week, I'll take you out to pizza. That way you're not a liar. You have to explain to these kids now, you got to bring them into the fold. You got to let them know what's happening. If you don't explain things to them and bring them into your world, it's just a breakdown.
Well, there's, like you said, that disconnect, and they don't feel as important because you're not letting them in.
Exactly.
You're not telling them what's
communicate
going on.
with them.
And especially now with, I'm a single dad, so having to explain to them sometimes takes a little more effort. I don't have a partner or their mother or a girlfriend that I can say, hey, babe, can you kind of take over this? But no, I'm on my own. So I'm constantly having to have these conversations. Well, you know what? I didn't get paid today. I know I said we were going to go. I think I promised her writing lessons once. One of the instructors, I didn't like him anymore, so I backed away from that instruction, and I told him we'll get it next summer. But next summer I wasn't working.
Right.
So I had to explain to her, you know what, we're struggling financially right now, when the time comes right and it comes together, we'll do it, but right now we can't. Right. Then she was like, I understand.
Okay, exactly. Some parents feel that, well, they're a child, they don't need to know my business. Mm-hmm. Well, not knowing your business creates a disconnect in the family. Mm-hmm. Not knowing your business puts you right in that rift that you don't want to be in.
Right.
And then you want to come to me to repair something that you could have prevented in the first place.
Wow.
So parents, work with your kids, communicate with your kids, keep them in the fold of your bosom, and love them, because that's all they're looking for. Kids come to my program and they get structure and they get discipline, and before you know it, these kids want to live with me. This is okay if I call you Daddy Sarge. Well, no, you're going to call me Sarge. You're going to still give me my respect. I'm not your father. I'm not trying to replace your parents.
Exactly.
I'm just trying to be the caboose to keep your parents on track, so that they can guide you the way that they see fit, because they are your parents.
Exactly. Well, Sarge, when we come back, you have one of your alumni here by the name of Richard Alonzo, who is now giving back to your program. He is a positive influence. He came to you a couple years ago, and we're going to get to that story. He's going to be he's in studio, and when we come back, he's going to be on camera. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in My House. I want you to stay tuned. We're going to be right back. They can call in. Ladies and gentlemen, inspirational reality radio show with a touch of recovery. A reality radio show where nothing is left unsaid and no one is insignificant who says it. If you guys have any questions or comments for Sarge, any advice that you would like, or for Richard Alonzo, who will be giving a little bit of his testimony, you can call 323-247-3100, or you can tweet me directly on twitter.com/joyinmyhouse. Richard, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I know that maybe you're not used to doing something like this, but we definitely want to give you the opportunity to share your story, because you came to Sarge, or your family came to Sarge. Tell us about that experience.
Okay. Yeah. I was 17 at the time. I was, wilding out, just doing everything I wasn't supposed to, just getting into trouble, gang banging, all that. Dropped out of high school, all the stuff. Grew up in LA, and my family saw me going the wrong way, and they were tired of it, and so they went to Sarge. We found Sarge, and I remember the first drill weekend. I don't know. I've been in this program for a long time. I see kids, some of them take a while to get it through their heads, but for me, I think the biggest one was the first time I ever met Sarge, and the first drill weekend we ever had. It sucked. It sucked. But just doing what I had to do and listening to everything that Sarge had to tell me, it clicked in my head that by the end of that weekend, when my body couldn't give no more, and I was already trying to fight everybody, all the instructors, I was just like, I don't want to die. I don't want to go to jail. I don't want that to be my life. Right. I don't want that to be for the rest of my life. I don't be incarcerated for the rest of my life. I don't want to be buried at a young age. So,
tell me, what do you think is the most valuable thing that you learned from Sarge or from the program? what do you think is the most valuable? Because I know he gave you a reality check. He told you this is what can happen, this is where you can end up, and that stuck in your head through him
Yes.
working you. But what did you learn from it? What is the thing that you think you took most out of the program or Sarge?
Structure, respect, integrity, discipline, dedication, but mainly structure. No, just man, there's a lot, but structure will be the main thing.
Well, I think it's important to talk about that because structure for me, I taught martial arts for it's 21 years now. I've been training for 25. The one thing that my kids were most successful in is when I didn't really change the curriculum. They knew what to expect.
Right.
You give them what they need, and they just blossomed. Every time I would throw in a little something different, they kind of got a little especially when they're teaching. We used to call them little dragons or Power Rangers, where these kids are 3 to 5 years old. Now, to maintain a class of 40, 60 students, not move at 3 to 5 years old was difficult. But if
Very
they knew what
difficult.
to expect, they
It
just
was
followed
easy.
suit.
Exactly.
So structure is definitely a
same
key.
thing with our program. One of the things about Richie is when he came in, he was very defiant, and like you said, he wanted to fight all the instructors. And the drill weekend, when we go away for Friday and come back Sunday, drill weekend is just that 55 hours in the wilderness, sleeping bag on the ground under the stars, making things happen. And to take a kid out of his environment, it's really the essence of what the program is about. I think that really hits home because you pull a kid out of his environment. He can't run back to his mother. He can't run back to his homies. He has nobody to back him up. He has nobody to boast and throw his chest out and feel that he's impressing someone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just him and his nakedness, and he's just vulnerable.
Vulnerability.
And
Yeah.
once you take him out of his comfort zone, and he's so vulnerable, you're able to strip him of the negativity and empower him with positive aspects of life. And with Richie, it was so many of the instructors that was pounding on him with the Marine Corps drill instructor yelling and the whole mentality of it, that he was just willing to fight because he didn't want to give in. He didn't want to be stripped of that negativity. And then when it was brought to my attention and I approached him very calmly. I got real close to him. I got into his intimate space, and I whispered in his ear the things that will happen to you if you don't conform. And right then and there, when I walked away from him, it was like God just touched him.
Right.
And his whole demeanor transformed. And it was like when the instructors came back to him, he was ready to do any and everything he needed to do to be successful, because at that point, it was inspired into him that he will not fail. And he didn't fail. And he was very successful. And when God touched him, I literally felt that transformation in his body as I'm walking away.
Wow.
And as I walked away, a smile came across my face, and I didn't even have to turn around to see what happened to him, because in my spirit, I knew he was ready.
Well, Richard, you came back and actually now are giving back to the program.
Yes.
It was so impactful to you that now you got a heart to give back to the youth as well. Now you're working with Sarge, and you're a captain
Yes.
in his program. Tell us a little bit what a captain entails now, because now you're one of the leaders.
Yeah, well, pretty much what I have to do is just make sure everything's in place. Everybody's accounted for. Everybody's supposed to be doing what they're supposed to be doing, and also at the same time, mentoring these kids. Doing the same thing that they did to me, like kind of like mold it and use it in my own way, and like try to help these kids out.
Well, I think some people are trying to call in. If you're trying to call in, the studio line is 323. It's 323-247-3100. If it's going to voicemail, please call back. I don't know if we're having a technical problem, but keep trying to call in.
The studio line is actually 323-437-3100.
One more time, Christian, if you can tell us the
One
number.
more time, the studio line 323-437-3100. We'll try to take your calls.
And we're going to put it down on the bottom of the screen so you can watch. Now that you're giving back as a captain, you're providing that structure that you talked about, how it was what you needed. Now you're giving it back. What are some of the future goals, Sarge, for the program?
Wow. Thinking big term, I'd like to put this program in every state. I
Wow.
think if we could put this program in every state, how we can make a difference in the United States of America, it would be so powerful. But for our short-term goal, I want to be able to reach as many people in LA County, Orange County, and San Diego County as we possibly can. Want to be able to get the word out that our organization do exist. Just being in Los Angeles and going to Compton, people in Compton had no idea we even exist.
Wow.
So we're not getting the word out. Because of our limited amount of funding, even being nonprofit, we don't have the funding in order to get the message out in mass media as we could. But as people get to know who we are and we're able to hit different communities, our short-term goal is to make a difference in our communities here at home.
And Richard, that's what you're doing. You're making a positive impact in the community. But I did want to ask you, what made you come back?
Just helping others. Like, I remember when I wasn't there, I felt like I wasn't doing anything. I felt like nothing else mattered. Like, I'm not making a change in nobody's life. It just didn't feel right. And every time I go back and every time we're done with graduation, like when I see a kid that he reminded of me, like he wanted to be hardcore, he wanted to do this, and then when he comes back to me, respectful, thank you sir for everything, it just sits here in your heart and you're like, oh man, it gives you the chills. Like I'm just thinking about it, I'm getting the chills right now. Just that alone is the best feeling ever. Just knowing that you're giving it out of heart. We do this for free. So I put all my heart, blood, sweat, tears, everything to this program.
I believe you because
there's
I
8
did
of us, and we've been doing this now for a little over 10 and a half years. We've been nonprofit for 6, and we've never gotten paid from this organization. Everything we give back. And just the show, it was one point where we had Drill Weekend, and we was negative $36 in our account. And Richard donated $300 out of his money in order for us to go to Drill Weekend, just so that the kids wouldn't fall, and so that we can keep things going on. So we even give out of our own pocket to make this program
to make
run.
it work and to make
it
run.
work.
Well, I did want to ask you, because talking about struggles and challenges, there's times where you want to quit, Sarge. You say, let's throw in the towel. This thing is costing me more headache, more finances, more than I can take.
Yeah.
How do you keep going? What brings you to keep on moving?
It has been a struggle. It's been several times. It's been several people within the organization that has challenged me to continue doing what I'm doing. My deputy commander challenged me to keep doing what I'm doing. They just don't want me to give up. And one of the things that she would always say to me is, you're doing the same thing that these fathers had done to these kids who you're trying to save. 1 minute they're there, and the next minute they're gone. And these kids look up to you, and they look forward to Saturdays and look forward to Drill Weekend. And now you're ready to turn your back on them just like their fathers did.
Wow.
What message are you sending to them? And that resonates in me, and it brings tears to my eyes. And it's like, you're right. I can't give up on them. I can't turn my back on them. But at the same time, it hurts me so bad to my heart, to the core, that when you got this kid right on the cuffs of greatness, and the parent says, oh my gosh, you made my child's life turn around in less than 3 months. I'm ready to take him out of the program. And I'm telling the parent, no, we're not there yet. And they pull the kid out of the program. And then the gang members grab this kid, and this kid drops out of school, and he's right back to point A where we found him at. And now I can't even reach this kid because he's lost from me now. And then I lose this kid. And then a couple of weeks later, he's either dead or incarcerated. And it hurts. And I'm like, well, did I really make a difference? I'm just ready to give up now. And
it's discouraging.
It's discouraging, but it's an emotional roller coaster. If I can get these parents to commit to something, leave their kid in the program for the entire length of the program, let this kid graduate and become something, not let you make a decision for this child who wants to be right there. And it's just a roller coaster. And sometimes I want to get off that ride.
Well, having had a person like Richard come back to you, does that motivate you? Does that inspire you to keep going?
It does. And when, like I said, when it was negative about $36 and Richard donated so that we can go to the field, it said to me, this is what I created. This is something that transformed out of my program. What if I had 50 Richards who went back to school, graduated, has a job, and can come back and help the program and give back to the program? What difference are we making? What are we really saying to the community? What we're saying is, this program works. This program is something that you need to sink your teeth into, because we're giving back. We're doing God's work, making a difference in the lives of these youth.
Now, Sarge, I have a question. You were talking about parents earlier, just a minute ago. How would you convince a parent who is a little hesitant to relinquish the power of trying to mold their son or daughter? How would you try to convince that
That
parent
is
that this
important,
is-
because I
this
think
is
a
the
lot
right
of
thing to
parents
do?
they feel power over their children, and sometimes that's their struggle. They want to feel powerful over their children, but you see them and you say, no, your child needs this type of structure. How would you talk to a parent that maybe is on the edge of maybe doing it, maybe not?
One of the things that the parents
Great
do is they
question,
go through
Christian.
a 16-week parenting program. And so in that first session of the parenting class, they realize then that they have no control over that child. You can't control kids with fear, because now these days kids say, I ain't afraid to die.
Right.
Kill me, whatever you want to do. Kids are not afraid of being whipped or beat any longer.
I even see that in my younger children, and my children who are younger. I tell them, well, we're not going to go. I'm not going to buy you that toy.
They don't
And-
care.
and they're like, I don't
They're
care.
going to steal a toy.
Yeah.
What you want to do is empower your kids to greatness. If you empower your child to greatness, they will want to succeed. If you challenge your kids to do something positive, they will be more than welcome to achieve that goal for you. But instead, you're trying to use threats and intimidation, and the child lashes back out because he goes back to his friends and say, my mom's threatened not to let me out the house this week, and I ain't going to be able to go with you. Well, don't worry about her. Just climb out the window. Leave the house anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the challenge for the kid. So now he wants to climb out the window and leave the house. Well, if you tell your child, if you would just clean up your room, you can go out with your friends this weekend. Now he has a task. He's challenged with a task in order to be successful by going out for that weekend.
And that's what the parents learn.
That's what the parents learn. And that makes all the difference in the world.
I think that's so important, that you can't just deal with just a child, because a child then goes back to their environment. And if the parents don't have some of the tools or the structure, they're back to the same
Exactly. Back to
back
the
to
root.
square one.
Exactly.
Richard, do you have anything else that you wanna mention about the program?
Oh, no. That's
Well, I know that this isn't your comfort zone, but how do you feel? How do you feel giving back? Besides it being empowering, do you feel that you're making a difference?
Yes, I do. Like, just seeing, I actually,
You
I'll
witness it.
I'll
you're
witness
there.
it. Or I'll be out there in the streets, and I'll see somebody that used to be like, oh, how you doing, sir? And I see they lock their body ups and everything. Like, I'm like, I don't think of it, because I think like, oh, I'm in civilian clothes. They only stand like that with me in the boot camp. But when they see me and they're like, oh, how you doing, sir? And shake my hand, I'm like, okay, I made a big difference. And tell me about their stories and everything. I'm like, oh, okay, you're doing good. Then
You're doing good.
it makes me feel good.
Yeah, it's amazing, because when we're in civilian clothes, we usually wear uniforms, but when we're in civilian clothes and kids run up to us, they lock the bodies up. They're at the position of attention. Heels together, feet at a diagonal angle, and they're straight.
Oh yeah.
And it's great. And they say, how you doing, sir? So I'm doing good, young man. And I say to myself, who are you?
I go through the same thing.
So many kids, like, who are you?
Around the area, I manage a taekwondo school right around the area where I live. So when I go to the market, and I was there 10 hours a day for 3 years, I mean, heart and soul into that program, and I'd always be in uniform, even when I went to the market, because it was after work or in between work, or my daughter would be at the studio, let's go get some groceries. But once I left the studio and the studio ended up moving, I would go to the market, but the kids were still in the area. They would bow.
Yeah.
How are you, sir? And I'd be like, I had so many, I think I had like 280 students at that academy. So I was like, oh, I remember you. What was your name again?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's funny because you did impact them, because you're still so respectful to
Exactly.
you, which shows that what you taught them didn't leave them.
Right.
And I think that's important.
That's very important.
I want you guys to go out there right now, and I want you to find more information on Sarge's Community Base. You can go to www.sargescommunitybase.org. I want you to support the ministry. We call it a ministry. It is a nonprofit. You guys need educators to give back, counselors, which also gives you credit and accreditations. EMT nurses and medical techs are always really desired, because
Definitely.
because
we
you
go to
guys
drill
do it.
weekend. We can use their help.
And definitely financial goals. Financial donations are welcome. If you can't go out and support with your time, please support with some of the finances. This is something that's giving back to our communities, our backyards. You are not donating to another country. You're not donating. This is something that's going to impact us directly, even though even donating to other countries you impact, but here directly. This is an amazing organization that's really giving back. You have a 3rd annual classic golf tournament coming up, playing for kids. Tell us about it, where they can come out and support.
October 20th. It's Monday. Tee off is at 11 a.m. It's on the website. It's in Braemar Country Club. It's our 3rd. Come out, support the youth. We'll have some of our cadets there beating up the grass because you know they can't hit the ball, but they're going to have fun anyway. And so it's a great event. And when you go to the website, in the top right-hand corner, there's a donate button. Even if it's 50 cents, trust me, every little bit helps, because that 50 cent eventually will turn into $1. So whatever you can give from your heart. We greatly appreciate it. We need the support. And come out and support us for the golf tournament. We're looking for foursomes. We're looking for sponsors. Our platinum sponsor right now is Galpin Ford. Galpin Ford has stepped up to the plate and became our platinum sponsor.
Wow.
We can always use more platinum sponsors. Please, we need your help.
So all the listeners and viewers out there, I want you to engage with sargescommunitybase.org at www.sargescommunitybase.org for more information. A lot of our listeners and viewers are very loyal, so you're going to get some people calling and finding out more information and hopefully donating, because this is something positive. Richard, I want to commend you too for giving back, and not only that, stepping up and coming back, because sometimes it's difficult to say, you know what, I want to give back, but how do I do it? If you're one of those out there and you're an educator, come out and support Sarge's community-based organization. If you're a counselor and want to donate some time, or maybe get some accreditation through your college or community, go to him. EMT nurses, again, medical techs are very, very much appreciated.
Right. And our office number is 626-797-4882. Once again, 626-797-4882.
Our show is coming to a close, and we always like to ask this of our guests. The show is called Joy in My House. It's the joy that we have in the midst of our challenges, struggles, or in the midst of our praise. I'm going to start with you, Richard. Richard, what does joy in my house mean to you in today's day and age? Because I know it's fast. There's social media. There's MTV. I mean, we used to say MTV. Now there's YouTube, right? There's just so much more out there, and so information bombardment. What do you find joy in? What does joy in my house mean to you today?
Doing, whatever you do, or something that you like to do, doing it with your heart, giving it your all, even if it's something that you might not like that much, but still saying that I tried my best, I did everything I could, and I worked hard for it. So you can't tell me I did a bad job. You can't tell me I didn't try. Taking your heart into everything you do and being humble.
Wow. Sarge, I got to ask you the same. What does joy in my house mean to you in today's day and age?
Joy in my house means leadership by example, showing my son that if you put your mind to it, anything is possible. And I just started back to school and working on my master's degree, and I'm showing him that education is the key to success. Joy in my house is being able to bring everything together and holding the foundation and the structure and a positive method, and being able to bless in the Lord.
Wow. I want to thank you, Sarge, for coming on. Richard, thank you for coming on the show. It's very much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Joy in My House. I want to thank you for being a part of the joy that we have in our house. I want you to join me next week here live at noon on www.latalklive.com. Darlene Palmer, she is a ministry leader and an author. She'll be giving her testimony on hope and encouragement. This is Joy in My House. I want you guys out there to have a blessed day. I want you to find us on Facebook /Joy in My House. You can find us on twitter.com. Engage with us. Christian, thank you for joining us. This is Joy in My House, ladies and gentlemen. You guys have a blessed day.